Well, looking forward to a game we care a bit more about then, Watford next Saturday. Steve, we're hoping for one or two new faces by then, ideally. How do you think we'll still set the team up for that game against Watford? You can do a version with or without new signings.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, ideally, I think as Alfie has said, he wants to play this kind of fairly fluid 4-2-3-1, ideally. But depends who comes in and when they come in. Because I mean, when the transfer window shuts on the 1st, doesn't it? So it could well be that we don't even have players in before the game on Saturday, and we're still waiting till Sunday, late into Monday. So yeah, I think, I mean, the kind of stuff I spoke about earlier in terms of the way I think I'd like the system to evolve would, yeah, necessitate like you bring an extra midfielder in, sacrifice a defender, but that midfielder is one that has, or at least one of those midfielders is quite well connected to the back four. So you're offering a bit of protection because, I mean, not being funny. I mean, all the goals we could see have been on transition. We are a team that as soon as our midfield loses the ball is the other side of them, and they're chasing back, and they're not going to be able to catch teams. And if you're playing like that, you are just going to concede so many goals in that way. I mean, we've created a lot of chances in these 3 games so far. So as I said, attack wise, I'm less concerned than most, I think, at the moment. I'd rather we create chances and miss them than not create them at all. So we're kind of doing sort of 3/4 of what we need to do in attack, I think. Even against teams that play with quite a low block, Wrexham basically sat on their 6-yard line for at least 45 minutes. Stoke did the same for half an hour, and we did find a way through both of those. So it's not a complete lost cause. My concern is that defensive shape and at the base of midfield. And if we can solve that, find whether it's a new signing, whether it's someone we've already got who can literally just sit and break things up. Because I think Downs and Charles both want to be this kind of number 8 that goes box to box. And unfortunately, if they've both got that attitude and they're not going to have the positional discipline to sit deeper,
you
then
just tell one of them not to. You sure you just
maybe.
tell them not to bloody do it? I mean, yeah, they look to me. I agree with you. They both got the license to go forward and join in with the attack, but maybe you just have to say to one of them, Flynn Downs, I think, just say you stay where you are, because we always had problems under Russell Martin when he got ahead of the ball, and you just need someone there as a security measure. And that's what he did when he played really well in the Championship. He was the one that stopped all the counter-attacks at source. But I totally agree. This year he seems to be going too far forward for me, and I just just get hold of him and say, you go and make sure you do your job in front of the back four and just do that. I mean, we're not talking about bloody Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard here, are we? We can tell one of them to just do the job, and for the benefit of the team. And I think it could well be just as simple as that. But that changes.
Do you think we'll see more of Mads Roerslev against Watford? We obviously saw a short cameo of him.
Yeah, he's been brought in to start the games without a doubt. I mean, his pedigree, having played 100 games in the Premier League under a very good manager in Thomas Frank, relatively recently, he's been brought in because the manager doesn't fancy Sugawara. Ryan Fraser is playing there at the moment because we're playing with with wing backs and stuff like that. That's not his position. We are short of wingers at the moment before we bring anybody in. So you'd obviously want Ryan Fraser further up the pitch. So I would think that if we are going with the backs four, then Roerslev will certainly start as soon as I mean, he's obviously he played a little bit on Saturday. He said I assume they're going to do some sort of training session before the game on on Tuesday. So why wouldn't you put him in from the start? I think he'll almost certainly play.
And Alfie, how do you see Watford as an opposition this season? Particularly, it's hard to say at the start of the season, but they haven't had an amazing start either.
No, well, they lost the first two games, obviously against Charlton and Norwich, and then I think they put it up. I think they beat QPR, and then they drew 1-0 with Swansea the weekend. So there's one player that my colleague George wanted to point out to me before the game yesterday, and they've signed an Australian lad called Nestori Irakundu or something like Irakundu. You're going to find him. He's on there somewhere, and he always used to watch A-League games for some reason when he was a student at 7:00 in the morning in his flat, with nothing else to do, because that's what we do as students. He'd always watch A-League games, and he says that this lad, he just scores goals from range. That's all he just bangs it from range. He constantly scores. And to be fair, he scored a free kick against Swansea at the weekend, so he's living up to the reputation so far. They seem to play a 3-5-2, and they've actually played at the back with Max Alleyne. So obviously Max Alleyne, who's on loan from Man City, former Saints Academy. I think he's 18, 19 years old now. He actually starting for Watford. So there's a couple of names in there that you'll recognise, but no, I don't know too much about them as an opposition yet, obviously. But they're a middle of the table. They've got 4 points, just like us at the moment. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game, and they're on to their new manager as well, who is one of the owner's friends. Probably he's got a very Italian name, and I was so surprised that Tom Cleverley was let go this summer. I really was, but yeah, they get through them, don't they? So. Yeah, I think also I've been to Watford twice, but it feels like I've just spent half my life at Vicarage Road. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just that sort of ground that just gives off that sort of vibe. But yeah, it's not a particularly exciting one. But yeah, so watch out for that Australian lad is what George tells me. But other than that, I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, I was looking at the manager stats earlier for Watford. It basically has won a season for the last few years, isn't it? Pretty nuts, and not nice for a fan, really, is it?
It's more than one season, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. They've had dozens. It is bizarre.
Last season was unusual, wasn't it? That Cleverly got the whole season.
But I just don't know how you build something at a club with that. I just don't get it at all. But a lot of people sort of fancy them to go down this season. But they say they picked up a win already. They picked up some points, so maybe they won't be down there. But it is a game that Saints will expect to win, even away from home. I think with Stoke, a lot of people underestimate Stoke, but I think all of us on the podcast, to be fair, we did sort of identify their strengths and stuff. So I wasn't massively surprised that they proved to be a tough game. But with Watford, it is one of those where if you want to be in the top 4 teams, top 3 teams, you have to go and win those sorts of games. So there'll be pressure on Will Steele and the players to do that. But it's so early days in the season that I wouldn't be panicking too much. I mean, there's some comments in the chat today. Presumably, there's one Pompey fan in here who's masquerading as a Saints fan, because some of the takes that they've had have been absolutely outrageous, saying, Danny Ings is a terrible player, and that there should be a change of management already. I think we just need to hold the horses a little bit and just relax. It's 3 games.
Certainly early days. Glenn, do you see this as a must-win for Saints, this Watford game?
No, we're 4 games into the season. Portsmouth, that's a must-win for different reasons. But in terms of the overall bigger picture, I don't really see, any game at this stage as a must win. But sooner or later we've got to start playing consistently. I think that's and consistently looking like a good team. We're just not doing it at the moment. We've had little patches of each game where we've looked half decent, but the performances aren't there, and the results kind of reflect that after Saturday. So yes, we should be able to go to Watford and we should be able to win it, but it's not a disaster if we only pick up a point. Obviously, you don't want to get beat again, because that would obviously be 2 league games in a row. So you need to stop that before it becomes a problem. But no, I just want to see us at this stage of the season just playing better and looking like the team we should be looking like, up towards the top of the league, instead of muddling along, which is what we seem to be at the moment.
It is the last game before the transfer window shuts, so it will be interesting to see if Matty Fernandez is still here, for example, and things like that. So I guess we'll move on to that in a minute.